And I will say this about what's coming up, the NFL. I have a humongous pick that's going to irritate AJ. This is going to make him so mad. I'm actually picking my 4th pick today because we can pick it today or tomorrow or next week if you haven't missed, because you had to have 4 over-unders, 4 of them. And I've got 3 in the books. Scott has 3. Mackenzie has 3. And Fez and AJ have 2.
The vacationers.
The Wally Pippers.
Yeah.
and I think that you're going to find mine interesting, AJ.
Okay. Is it another over?
I can't say.
Okay.
I think we all know what it is.
He's been bold 3 overs so far,
I know.
spitting in the face of Fez's logic.
That's what I like to do. I like to be stubborn, you know?
Yeah.
And if I can even break even being stubborn, I like that better than playing the cliched stuff and winning. I know that sounds wrong, but when you've won as much as me, it's just, you'd rather.
And if you have an urn with more white marbles than black marbles, and RJ Bell can tell you which
I think
black
we changed
marbles.
those to red and blue.
Yes, thank you. If you've got an urn with more blue marbles than red marbles, and RJ can tell you the red marbles that really are blue marbles, now you got a whole lot of blue marbles to choose from, and that's good.
I guess that's a compliment. I was going to say, so says the middle manager. But, now that I think that wasn't so bad, so I'll let it go.
Okay.
I still said it, but, All right, let's start. Why don't we, I can't even tease this. I'm just going to start it. It's good. This involves the Bills. Give me your take, AJ, on the Bills right now.
I am lower on the Bills than I was last year, and last year I was lower on the Bills than I was the year before. So I think the Bills window is rapidly closing.
How are they suffering this year? How are they you bearish on them? For what reason, I guess?
Von Miller is paid more than he's worth at this point. Josh Allen's contract, this is the year where he starts to become a big hit on the
Yeah, but they
team.
got the players they got.
Yep.
It's not like they're going to have to cut someone between now. So, with their current roster, not playing capologists, right?
Right.
Which we don't have. We have basic insight into it, but what is it about? How much worse is this? Isn't this team better than last year's?
No. The big hope was
once Von Miller got hurt last year, isn't Von Miller being healthy making this team better than last year?
He could. He could. What I would say is they would hope to upgrade the wide receiving core this offseason. They didn't.
They got a move tight end.
Okay.
Right? Who's supposed to be, he's like a receiver.
But Stephon Diggs, if his trajectory continues, I don't know if he's even a top 10 wide receiver in the league anymore.
It's interesting. Now, the Ringer just did their top. So there's been 3 different sites that's done their top receivers. The Ringer had, this was, I can't remember. The dude who always talks quarterback, Steve Ruiz or some variation of that. And the other dude, the fast talking dude, did one. And they actually had Diggs 5.
Wow. Last year, I wouldn't have. I thought that Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Deebo Samuel, Stephon Diggs were in that same group.
They had Chase 8th.
I would. Wow. If they think Stephon Diggs is better than Jamar Chase, they didn't see many Bills games last year.
But was it the problem with Diggs, or was it he wasn't getting the ball? Because that seems to be the argument now, is he's very upset about not getting the ball in the second half of the year.
He should consider getting open more often in the second half.
So you're able to watch that, and see if he's open or not?
The
NFL Open is hard to even glimmer, right?
Pursuant to address that as far as the numbers, I took a look at Diggs, and his when he was thrown to, he was good. They completed 2/3 of the time.
First half of the year, especially.
But exactly. But over the course of the year, you could make the case that he's right. They didn't throw to him enough, because you look at the number 2 wide receiver, Gabe Davis. They threw to him. He only just over half of the passes to him were completed. That's terrible, absolutely awful. So when you think about it, Diggs is the guy that. He's getting such more usage. You would expect that the percentages would be comparable. They're not even close. It's 2/3 of the passes to Diggs get completed, and just over half to Davis.
So this is production versus efficiency, and you're saying as production goes up, typically efficiency suffers.
Yes.
You're saying it's the opposite. Diggs has better efficiency and better production.
Yes, although Davis does have a really nice yards per play, but it doesn't make up for the fact that half the passes that go to him are incomplete.
Per catch, right?
Per catch, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, PFF still has him as a top 5 guy last year, so I'm surprised at that.
Well, maybe you're just a typical fan that when things don't go exactly your way, you start to like hate on the team.
Entirely possible.
All right. I'm going under Bills.
I agree with you.
All right.
And I got one factor.
I agree with you also.
Okay. Well, no, you just said you're neutral.
But you
said,
go.
You said I'm not bullish.
I don't want to
That's
step.
not saying you like the under.
I'm not going to step on your reason. You go, RJ. You
No, you go ahead, go ahead.
One factor.
Uh-huh.
Josh Allen can't keep running like he's been doing. That's my. I really
Why?
think this is huge. Why? Because
Injury risk.
Cam.
He's come into the mini camp saying, I know I can't do that. If I get hurt, I'm not going to heal as quick. Remember, he hurt that elbow, didn't have to get surgery, but that was a whole off season of deciding surgery, not I mean, I think that spooked him a little bit.
Yeah, and you hear it all the time. Oh, he's a big guy. He can handle Cam Newton. No, big guy. No problem. Then boom, never the same. You know, it's just a matter of time. You take enough hits, you're going to be compromised. And I really think that that's going to be a major problem for a team that doesn't run the ball well and relies on him to shoulder the load. And I got one receiver, Diggs. I mean, it doesn't look like an 11-win team.
Now, if you think about the model of this bet, who's one of the most extreme relying on one person teams in the NFL? Right? You could say Mahomes is right up there, though I'm not even sure. I think with Andy Reid and I think he's probably worth a little less Mahomes than Allen relatively, right?
Kansas City can win a playoff game if Mahomes can't play the second half, but
so.
Buffalo can, right?
So I would make the case Buffalo's right at the top as if well, let's just say this. If we combine how big is the absence with how likely the injury is, that the Bills, and Allen's going to be number one. Does anyone debate that?
That's a great point. If you're making the chart of likelihood of injury with importance of the player, that Josh Allen's right at the top of that curve.
I'd put Jalen Hurts in that conversation too.
Sure.
And Lamar Jackson.
But then again, we haven't really seen the whole Jalen Hurts thing. They didn't need those wins.
Lamar's backup made the Pro Bowl.
Yeah. With the Jalen Hurts thing, it's like when he went down, they didn't need those wins. So it's hard to judge team motivation.
With Minshew, in theory, they had a good backup situation.
Yeah, but now it's Mariota.
But either way, let's just say one of the top.
He's near the top.
Yeah, they're the same. You're right. They're the same.
Number two, and this isn't official. I don't know the heuristic of this.
The what?
But the heuristic.
The what?
Look it up.
It's a made-up word.
Don't worry. Yeah.
I know it.
I believe the Bills are cracking up. I truly do. Now,
because they can't get past Kansas City?
No. Kinda. So think about it. Did you know, and I didn't know this, that McDermott took over the play calling only once during, not last season, but the season prior, and it was the 13 seconds against Kansas City?
Oh, no.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he came because I got this. And I mean, that is unbelievable.
Here's what we're going to do. Not cover Kelsey.
Good God.
And Frazier left over this effectively. I mean, the DC left.
If they mortar kick to the 2, they win.
I've heard that
a couple times.
All right, but think about this now. They're better. That was their best team. I mean, the way that offense was clicking. Remember, they had just beat New England, like scoring 7 out of 7 possessions. They came in and put up 35 against KC. They have a late game, and there's like 13 seconds left, and somehow he says, "Give me that headset." And now that coach is gone. He played out last year. Then it was like, I'm out of here. And now you got this Diggs thing. Can we what is this about? This is about, by all accounts, he wants more catches, all right, or more opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Targets, as they say. Okay. Well, they just drafted a tight end with the theory being they're going to go a little bigger because as everyone now, if they run this too high, you got to be able to run the ball. Well, how do you run the ball? You go multiple times. Now, maybe he's the second tight end. So you got like a blocking tight end. And they're drafty,
Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid's the new guy, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who knows how they're going to do it? But at the time of the draft, if you go back and listen to ESPN's coverage, it was like this is along the lines of their effort to get bigger up front. They want to run the ball more. They don't want Allen running the ball nonstop. And now you got an instrumental player, the second most valuable player on the team. It's not even close. I think Diggs, so mad that he's got the coach coming in. And you guys seen this, I'm sure, saying, yeah, I'm very upset that he wasn't on the field today. But apparently he gave him permission not to be there. That just came out. So he gave him permission not to be there. Then he said how upset he is. Then he comes back, and the next day he goes, I wasn't really upset. I'm upset when anyone misses. So they're cracking up. And now you think about this. Now obviously if Allen gets hurt, they're gonna win what, 7 games if he gets hurt early, right? Okay.
Your boy Flipper's the backup now.
Oh, is that right?
Kyle Allen.
Oh, the better.
They still have Matt Barkley, but Kyle Allen's projected.
I'll take either of them. Third stringer or Flipper. But well, wait a minute. One of them's Flipper, and one of them's Little Flipper. Which one was with the Carolina? Is it this one?
I think it's Kyle Allen. Yeah.
Yeah. This is Flipper. The other
Who's Little Flipper?
Little Flipper's guy was at Cincinnati. He fumbled
Brandon Allen.
Yeah, Brandon. He fumbled like every third time. Are they related?
I don't think so.
But they're kinship of their small hands.
Spirit-wise, yes.
Not a good backup situation.
No.
We can agree.
They let A.J. McCarron go and took this in favor of it.
Now, here's the thing I think. Here's the thing, Steve, I think that is really sharp. What's the odds of Buffalo being in on the number 1 seed, like with 3 or 4 games left? I mean, they might be 2 games back. I mean, it doesn't feel like they're a number. With all the talent in the AFC, someone's going to get hot.
And what's you got 2 teams better than them already. All right, Cincinnati, Kansas City.
Yeah.
And you've got the potential that a Charger type of team could go
Chargers,
crazy.
And you have the
Miami
and the 2 teams in their own division.
Yeah,
the
Miami,
Jets and Miami.
Yeah, there's lots of candidates of teams that could.
I mean, talk about a tough division.
Yeah.
I mean, if New England's your easiest one, that's a tough division.
No doubt.
So in general, the strength of schedule is going to depress it a little bit. But I think this is a team that only cares about the playoffs. If it gets to be that there's 3 or 4 games left, or they got 3 teams ahead of them, maybe let's say 2 teams ahead of them, I think that not that they're going to give up. I think they're mentally they're going to have a break, because let's not forget that Hamlin situation. I mean, has there been any who's the second most drained team over the last 20, let's say 30 months, right? If you add in, let's think of how many months that would be. So it was 2 years ago. Let's say from the time in that KC game. So that was January to this January. So really we're looking at, it will be like 19 or 20 months. It will be from the 13 seconds till the middle of this season. Now think about this. 13 seconds, you give up a Super Bowl in which you probably win. It would have been the first Bills Super Bowl ever.
Yep.
And then you have this Hamlin situation, which apparently they're still talking about. I mean, he's playing now. They're saying he looks like you couldn't see on the field. He looks any different than he did, which is great. I mean, for him, for everyone. But I mean, it was the biggest deal in the world. I thought it was like, it didn't make sense to me how big it was. Because people, but again, it doesn't even matter. It's what they, and I talked about that at length. It's what they felt, and again, they knew. I think it made sense. It was a big deal to the Bills, right? Because this was their coworker, right? So, and it happened in an unexpected way. It's one thing if someone's like an alcoholic, and then you hear they got killed in a drunk driving accident. It's horrible, but it's like, we saw that coming.
Like if Fez ran into the door and knocked himself unconscious,
died,
and
or his
and
heart stopped.
a paramedic came and woke him up,
and we just were like, shh, the pod's gone.
we wouldn't have continued the pod. We would have had to stop.
At what point would we have stopped? I can tell you this: once he got E-card away, we would have finished the pod.
Would we have?
Yeah.
That seems terrible.
If he
if we thought maybe he was dead.
If he was dead, we'd do an in memorial show the next week.
Fez would want us to. Continue.
Yeah. The friends of Fezzik would be selling pigs too.
Luckily, Fez would never run face first into the wall.
Of course not. Now, RJ, everything you say, I agree with. Yeah. I only have one question for you, and I don't know if you can answer this. And I'm sure you recall.
Go ahead.
There was irrational exuberance about the Bills at the end of last year. Example, like when the Bengals were hosting them. The Bills were favored late in the year when they were already showing chinks in the armor. What was going on there?
I don't know. Remember that was the Hamlin game.
Yeah.
It was in Cincinnati, and the line got bet up to 2.5.
Yep.
But I'll tell you this, it was a very different perspective in the playoffs, playing that same Cincy team. What was the line, 4.5?
I don't recall.
I thought it was 4, but it was a neutral though.
It wasn't
No, in the
neutral.
playoffs.
In the play. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, it literally was like 2 points. Can you look that up, Mackenzie? It was like 2 points more.
Yeah.
So at some point there was a reevaluation of the Bills.
Yes.
Buffalo -6.
Well, that was the opener, but I'm almost certain.
It got bet down.
I
You're
think
right.
I think it got down to like 4.5.
But still, how interesting
Well, we'll see.
that so Buffalo clearly was perceived to be the better team.
Mm-hmm.
All right, even after they lost in Cincinnati, they were losing in the end of the first quarter, Cincinnati. But now
After one drive, they were losing, so the game was pretty much over. We know that.
Well, but I
Cincinnati was minus 185 live betting to win that game. So Cincinnati was a clear-cut favorite. So I think
that's
that is
that's a
significant.
lot of money being bet. I mean, meaning that they were willing to take tens of thousands of dollars to say our number's right.
Yes. But now this exuberance is gone. Like you said, RJ, with Buffalo, Cincinnati's perceived now to be the better team.
All right, it looks like it was more towards. I mean, 5.5, even 6 is out there. Huh.
Yeah,
okay. But
yeah.
even 5.5 is saying 3 point, or I mean, Bills get a good home field.
So 2.5,
Especially in the
at
cold.
Cincinnati, and 5.5 at Buffalo. So
Does
only
it-
a 3-point adjustment. So there was a downgrade for Buffalo.
I think for sure. But here's the thing to think about. If you look at the division odds, in fact, Mackenzie, look this up. It might take you 3-4 minutes. Is go to the historic division odds and find the week before Lamar got hurt. I can't remember, week 8, 9, whatever. Baltimore was like minus 180, and Cincy was like plus 170. It was like extreme. Like they had the same record, and it was. And I know Cincy had a tough schedule for sure, but there was like Baltimore was like Cincy. Remember, they made the Super Bowl, but everyone thought they were lucky.
Yeah.
And then the first half of the year, remember, Chase was out for a while. They got blown out by the Browns.
the new O-line wasn't working.
Yeah, and from there on, Cincy had an amazing run, and I think there's been a total reevaluation of Cincy, especially because they've been beating Kansas City.
Yeah.
And I would make the case there, just real quick, is if you forget about the Kansas City games, Cincy hasn't really overperformed. And like in the playoffs, you remember they almost got beat by the Raiders 2 years ago, that first game, right?
Yep. Clinging to a 7-point lead.
And they almost got beat by Baltimore without Lamar.
Tennessee gave away the game against them.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I mean, but it's
Turnovers.
I mean, that was a coin flip kind of game. So my point is, they somehow, and Big Lou, their DC, seems to have the kryptonite, at least to some degree, from Mahomes. Other than that, Cincy, it's not like they've been dominating all the time. I think they're a good team, but there's been such a reevaluation of them. Like you said, at the end of the year, the Bills were 2.5 at Cincy, and now Cincy's considered to be the better team.
Yes.
So that means
Massive adjustment.
I mean, 4 to 5 points, or let's call it 4 points adjustment. That seems like a lot over what?
Yeah.
But
A
I don't.
lopsided playoff win.
Yeah, but that was a and apparently they're saying that's lingering with it. This team knows this is their last year. They can't do it next year. So
I think you're right. This is their last year, and also like their room for error is less than it has been in the previous years. Like the team, I don't know if is as good as it's been the last couple of years.
well, they're getting older. They lost that linebacker that went to the
Tremaine
Bears.
Edmonds.
Who have they picked up? I mean, in theory, we'll see what White does at corner. I mean, he was a head case. I don't know. They say it wasn't physical at a certain point last year. But cornerbacks, once they lose a little step, they get, it's scary being out on the island like that. I can see that point. I mean, cornerbacks usually go from elite to they're not playing anymore. Like, remember the Carolina, what was that? The Carolina cornerback? What was his name? He was
Josh Norman.
Yes. I mean, he was like as good as anyone, and then he's like.
Got in that fight with Odell Beckham Jr. and it's all over.
My last point would be this.
The Bills brought in Leonard Floyd, remember?
Who?
Leonard Floyd a couple weeks ago, pass rusher. He was with Von Miller when they won the Super Bowl with the Rams.
Yeah, okay. No, I mean, we'll see.
Lost their number one running back too.
I mean,
Singletary.
let's be honest. Is what's the odds? And again, I don't know when it's going to happen. That there's not made. I mean, you look at the age on this team. You look at Von Miller specifically. When's the last time he hasn't been hurt? Like, what's the most games he's played? Because I mean, the year he got traded to the Rams, he hardly played for Denver before that. They thought that's why it looked like such a bad trade. Now he's going to be like 26 months older come time for the playoffs.
His eyes are already failing, right?
Is that
He's
right?
wearing glasses all the time.
He's always worn glasses, Fez. Like,
But I think
I don't remember him wearing glasses 4
he's
years
literally
ago.
always worn them. He wore them in
All right.
college.
it's Super Bowl or bust. If they don't have a chance for the number 1 seed late in the year, do you think they're really going to be sweating those games out, or are they going to? And there's
But with only one number 1 seed, that's a big difference.
or one bye and
One bye, thank you.
And my last point would be this. Something happened to Josh Allen that he became a very different player I guess it was after that Green Bay game, if I remember correctly. It was a Sunday night game, I think, and he threw like 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter. You remember that?
I don't remember that being a turning point. I remember that being a disaster game.
Well, I mean, they still won that game, but
Bad game for him. I mean.
yeah. But what I'm saying is, if you look, I mean,
I'm looking up his game log now, see what happened beyond that.
Cincy's schedule was difficult. Cincy had Chiefs. Okay, but I don't. Oh, okay. So as of November 29th, so this is post Thanksgiving. Baltimore was minus 250 to win the division at 7-4. Cincy was plus 220.
Wow.
At 7-4. So think about Ty. One has a tougher schedule. Cincy. Lamar's still healthy.
Right.
They didn't consider these to be even close to even teams. So now Cincy, I mean, I think Cincy might be a little overrated. That's an interesting thing. But to me, the Bills, I just don't think what team has ever when a team wins what team has ever won 3 straight Super Bowls? None. Right? But how many teams have won 2? A lot. Right? There's something about you can keep it together one year and then you can keep it together the next. But the Bills were like a Super Bowl or bust even. Because remember, the year before, they got beat by Kansas City bad. And that whole year was a lead up to we're going to beat Kansas City. Right? So you could extend it all the way back to that beating they took. Remember? You remember that, AJ, right? And then they lose that. And now they lost their DC. Now you got their wide receivers mad. Like, if he's not worried about the Super Bowl then as much as his catches, what do you think's going on with the rest of the team? And now we got McDermott as the DC. Why?
I think you're making some poignant points here that Buffalo's a fade, and you're looking within their division, and it looks like trouble ahead. Everybody else is looking like they're improved.
Now this is why it's a savvy play, because 2 of RJ's picks are Patriots over 7.5 and Dolphins over 9.5.
There you go.
And
they can't all go over.
They can't all go over.
And let's be honest, we're looking for tail results in this, right?
Yes.
So the odds, if somehow, and let's be honest, how much can Buffalo go over this?
Yeah.
They can't go over very much. So it's,
one maybe.
Yeah, to me, I think you either go over bad teams or under good teams is the way to protect yourself.
It's interesting you say that because that's the direction I will be heading shortly.
If you say Josh Allen stays healthy all year, what's the floor for the Bills in your mind?
I think they could be. I mean, this is a little bit of an outlier. I think they could be 9-8.
Okay.
I mean, so I think you could pick up that. But again, we never can imagine what happened. Like, who could have imagined the Rams doing what they did?
It was difficult.
Yeah, I mean, so to some degree, some of these teams, and let's be honest, if they start losing bad, who knows what's going to – I mean, if they get out of the –
Brady was healthy, right? Tampa only won 9. Right?
Yeah, that's true too. That's a weird thing too, because it's like, really, you look at them now, they're saying they're the best team without a quarterback in the league. Like they can't tear it down because they got too many good players. So I don't know. But that was going to be my last point. Is I do think that there was a correlation, obviously, to extreme result. Now, in theory, there could be a reverse correlation.
Sure.
But to me, I think there's only so much downside for New England. Right? There's only so, and I think Miami, to be honest, is the sleeper team of the entire. And I did them last week.
Oh yeah, as long as Tua's able to play, I agree.
And
they could go 15-2,
and they're heavily favored to sign Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, which I think would actually be really good. I mean, they're saying Cook wasn't worth the money, but it's like he's still a good number 2.
Nobody's saying
number 4 or whatever.
Dalvin Cook can't play at 28.
Yeah,
no one's saying that.
So we'll see. I mean, listen, this is it for Miami. They are in cap. They're like $60 million over the cap next year already. So I mean, this is the 1 year thing here, and they're going all in. And that owner's like 90.
How can you be $60 million over the cap? Shouldn't it be a cap?
Well, what I'm saying is they got to start cutting people. They got to start moving money. Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts? Does someone? I mean, I guess in theory, just how good the counter argument would be. The Bills were considered the best team in football by far, all the way up to the very end of last year. Really, what's changed? Right. Personally, I think I've addressed that. But
Lost to DC.
Yeah. Well, they got shoved out. I mean, in a way, he got shoved out because the coach said, "I want your job."
I don't think he's shoved out because there's like everything I read today was, and I actually read about Leslie Frazier today, was that there's still the door is open for him to come back next
That's
season.
what they say. That's what they.
what they-
Why would he come back next season? Why would he leave? Who's the other coordinators is taking a leave of absence?
I don't know offhand. Mm-hmm. And to your point, after that Green Bay game, so Josh Allen's QBR last year was 71.9.
Uh-huh.
After that Green Bay game, he had 2 games that was above his season average.
And how many below?
Counting the playoffs,
Yes.
9.
Whoa, whoa! And all those horrible games were counting the season average.
Yeah.
If you actually sum it up to Green Bay, well, maybe look at it. You don't have to weight it. Just look at it up to Green Bay, and count Green Bay in the.
Green Bay was above his average.
Okay, so
He was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the first 7 games. He was above average, above that his season average.
Well, by
Mackenzie,
definition, he's got to be.
Mackenzie,
Yeah.
do me a favor. Just put we got it in our super sheet. Just give me a mean. Include the Miami the Green Bay game with the early season.
Got it. Cool.
All right.
I think you brought up a good point, though, in terms of the stress of the past couple of years.
Yes.
Like you call it the dream crusher scenario, multiple in different situations. But this is it. Like, how many times do we see a team that's favored to win and then favored to win again and favored, but they never do it? And not only do they never do it, they don't even get to the championship. And it's like sooner or later that's got to weigh on you, and
then
you're
the
done.
history of Buffalo.
Yeah.
They've never won a Super Bowl. They make movies about it. A movie was made 24 years ago called Buffalo 66 about the futility of living in Buffalo and rooting for the Bills.
Well, the weather's so nice, it makes up for it.
Well, it's not San Diego. But I mean, AJ, you're our expert on the futility of the Bills. I mean, that's painful, isn't it?
Yeah.
You start to wonder, did you do something wrong?
I mean, I know I didn't do anything.
No,
wrong.
but don't you sometimes wonder how you're cursed to be rooting for a team like
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Exactly. See, when you think that there's some metaphysical curse going on,
The worst is everybody says, like, you're from Houston, Texas. How'd you end up being a Bills fan? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know why I did that.
because you like Jim Kelly.
Yeah.
I know, but
Makes
it's like
sense.
in hindsight, it's not worth it. It wasn't worth it.
Like 20 years ago, there was they dubbed in the Bonnie Tyler song "It's a Heartache," and they talked about like certain franchises, and they changed the lyrics to saying "It's a heartache rooting for a team you know must lose."
Well, you as a Bengals
Bengals fan, I was
you
gonna
kinda
say.
And,
like-
and I feel that way. You know, it's like deep down, it's like, we were happy we made the Super Bowl.
what are you, a Giants
Jets
or
fan.
Jets.
So I mean, you got a Bengals, Bills, and Jets fan. There's
So,
nothing
let-
but futility here except for RJ
Yeah,
and Mackenzie.
Well, what, huh? He wasn't a San Fran fan back in Joe Montana's days. When he's rooted for a team, well, Denver, he got some. All right,
Yeah.
we'll give him that. But otherwise, amongst the show proper, not the support staff, we've got support staff. I mean, that's what's the producer? I mean, he's talent on other shows.
Yeah, that's true.
Support staff. Why is that bad?
I didn't say it was bad.
But Fez makes a face like, oh, what should I call him?
Swiss Army knife.
He can do everything.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. All right, there you go.
He's not Swiss.
No. Let's think of,
Thanks for clarifying.
just to clarify.
I was curious.
That might be one of the funnier things you've
you
ever
seen his
said.
23 and me or what? Like, how do you know?
We need to save that drop. Just use that random
He's a
points.
Swiss Army knife. He's not Swiss.
Just the he's not Swiss part.
It's more impressive even that he's a Swiss Army knife. But let's think about this. Combined, there's 0,
Yep.
0, 1, and then there's 6.
Must be nice.
Pittsburgh looks good this year. The more I look at him,
Season win just got bet up to 9.
I believe
in
it.
some spots.
I believe it.
Money coming.
I was a little
Buddy
skeptical.
Coward's on him. He likes
Oh,
him.
well, there you go. I was a little skeptical about Pittsburgh because they have won a lot of close games. But man, that draft, and again, I'm not one to pick the draft, but when you get that equity, you got to consider it at those key positions. Oh man. There was a question that was asked on what show was it? It was on the Athletics show, Football Pod. They said if Patrick Mahomes went to every team, like just one at a time, though, in 32 different or 31 different additional universes, how many teams would be a top 7, let's say top 8 Super Bowl contender? Like on the Steelers?
Who wouldn't he be
Yes.
on?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a short list.
Well,
Well, I think it's much easier to say who wouldn't be, and those,
Right, so-
those I think
Texans.
Yeah, you
Texans.
I
I
agree.
think
Bears.
Arizona.
Arizona's debatable even. Like
No, I think not. I
No.
mean, Arizona's been torn down, but okay, let's say 2. I think. I think Tampa, they're right up there, top 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm talking about teams that wouldn't be.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
saying these are the borderline.
Raiders.
Titans.
That was one they mentioned as a questionable one, but I mean, with Adams, the D's pretty bad. Maybe not.
Yeah, he can't play defense.
maybe Titans and Commanders.
I know with Vrabel.
Yeah, well,
First of all, I think
You know, I really think you
Commanders are
got
pretty good.
I think you got to look at it like
or decent. I think.
he can't play defense, so like
But how important is defense? Just so you're not horrible.
yeah, but yeah. So I think,
Tennessee's not horrible.
but obviously like he doesn't. A team like the Raiders that wins right now in shootouts, they don't win often, but when they do win, it's in shootouts. You know, their defense is the Raiders' defense is awful.
I'd say he makes 27 at least teams a Super Bowl contender.
Yes.
Yeah. Chargers for sure.
They might be the only team to say no.
Oh, that'd be crazy. All right.